Today on The Hookup, we're going to learn how to use Node-RED to control anything in your smart home with Amazon Echo and set up custom user interfaces using the Node-RED dashboard. This is part 2 of my Mastering Node-RED series. If you're just starting out with Node-RED, I highly recommend you watch part 1 of this series first. Click that link right there to go there now. We're going to be using a bunch of custom nodes in this video that are not included in the standard Node-RED package. I've included all of the names of these packages in the description below. To install them, just click on the hamburger icon in the upper right hand corner and select Manage Palette. Then click on the Install tab and then input the names of the packages into the search field. Once you find the correct package, just click Install Now. Let's start out with Amazon Echo. If you're using Home Assistant, you already have a few different ways to incorporate Amazon Alexa commands into your home automations, including emulated Hue and the Home Assistant Cloud. So why would you even bother looking at Amazon Echo in Node-RED? Number 1, simplicity. Never before has it been so easy to set up new Alexa commands. Number 2, customizability. Having it in Node-RED means the payload of your commands is infinitely customizable. And number 3, localization. Using the Alexa local node causes your Raspberry Pi to act as the hub for each of the devices and removes any reliance on cloud servers. A major theme that you'll see in my videos is that I really don't like cloud services. And although Alexa itself is a cloud service, not using a skill provided by a third party greatly decreases the security concerns on the Alexa platform, other than Amazon itself spying on you, of course. Because the Alexa local node is actually just another emulated Hue device, that means that it not only responds to on-off commands, but also to brightness commands. This means you can say things like, turn on my kitchen lights, but you can also say, set the blinds to 50% or set the charger to 3. Let's walk through the setup of my outdoor shades. I'm going to make an Alexa local node and call it test shades, and I'm going to pipe it into a debug node just so we can get an idea of what's contained in the message object. I'll hit deploy and then jump into the Alexa app on my phone. After going to smart home and then add devices, my test shade will be discovered quickly. Let's test it out. Alexa, turn the test shade to 40%. You'll notice that my debug node didn't really tell me much. We're going to need to click that debug node and select Output Complete Message Object. Now let's try it again. Alexa, turn the test shade to 40%. Now you can see we've got way more information in there. Here's what we can see as the parts of this message object. Message.bri is 40 because I told it to turn to 40%. Message on-off command is false because I didn't specifically tell it to turn on or off. Message.payload is on because 40% is of course at least partially on. Change direction is 0. I actually have no idea what this means. If you know, go ahead and post it down in the comments. And BRI underscore normalized is 0.4. This is just the brightness out of 1 instead of 100. On is true because 40% is not 0%. And then device name, light ID, and port aren't super important for this automation because they won't change based on any command that I give to Alexa. When I program these shades, I noted that it takes almost exactly 13 full rotations of the bar to roll the shade up and down. So when I programmed the different stop points on the shade, I just made them 0 through 13. This is all well and good when you're writing your own custom MQTT messages, but how do we translate this into a brightness percentage out of 100? The answer is the range node. If you've ever used the map function in Arduino, this node works in the exact same way. We tell it the range of a message that we're receiving, in this case 0 to 100 in the message.bri variable, and the range of the message we'd like to have, which for my shades happens to be 0 through 13. But there's also a problem with that. This system remembers the previous brightness when the on-off commands are sent. But if I say to turn the shade on, I actually want it to turn to 100%. To do this, I'm going to use a switch node. In this node, I'm going to check the message on-off command variable. If it's true, I want to set the shades to 13 if it was an on command and 0 if it was an off command. I'm using function nodes here because I need to have a correctly formatted JSON to send to the call services node. Let's do a really quick crash course in writing JSON. I'm going to hop over to the Services tab under Developer Tools to write my JSON. We're trying to send the input number set value service. Let's generate as much stuff as we can with the drop-down menus first. I stupidly have my couch shade called input_slider1. I should probably fix that, but it's not going to happen right now. Now you can see that down below, we can send a value property in this JSON object as well. But how? It's actually super easy. Each parameter in JSON is separated by a comma, and each entry needs quotation marks. So to add the value parameter, we'll just add comma, quote, value, end quotes, colon, quote, some other value, end quote. Now let's copy it over to the function node. And we're going to have a couple of if statements. If message.payload is on, meaning I issued the on command, then I want to set it to a value of 13. And if message.payload is off, I want to set it to a value of 0. Easy enough. Now we're going to use this same JSON that we wrote to set the shades to custom heights. To do this, we'll just paste in our JSON from before, but we're going to replace the sum value part with our message.bri value that we've reduced to a 0 to 13 range. Notice that since message.bri is a variable, we don't want to have it in quotation marks. Now our flow checks to see if I specifically used the turn on or turn off command, and it sets it all the way down or all the way up if I did, and it sets it to a specific percentage if I didn't. This is just one example of what you can do with Alexa and Node-RED, but the sky is the limit. Speaking of things with limitless possibilities, let's talk about the Node-RED dashboard. I know what you're going to say. You already have a dashboard in Home Assistant with all kinds of cool options like floor plan and HA dashboard. So why do you need another dashboard? Let me convince you with this example. We're going to make a slick alarm panel UI without writing any code at all. You might not need an alarm panel, but I decided to use this example because it utilizes a bunch of different node types, and this is a learning experience. Let's start with some dashboard basics. The UI has these different pages called tabs, and each tab has different modules called groups. In the panel on the right, where your debug tab usually lives, you'll notice that you have a new tab called Dashboard. In this tab, you can customize different attributes of your UI, like the color and the size. This is also where you're going to add new screens to the UI by clicking the Add Tab button. For our example, I'm going to add a tab called Alarm Panel and a group called Keypad. I'm going to make this group 6 units wide because I want to have a 3-button wide keypad with each button 2 units wide. Now that I've got my group, I just need to populate it. To do this, I'm going to add 12 buttons corresponding to 0 through 9, asterisks, and clear. For each of these buttons except for clear, I'm going to have the payload be exactly the same as the label on the button. But it certainly doesn't have to be this way. Once I've got all the buttons set up and arranged in the order I'd like them to be, I can preview my alarm panel by going to my normal Node-RED URL and replacing everything after the base URL with /UI. You can move your buttons around as needed until you're happy with the way that your UI looks. I like this. Once you've got your UI looking nice, we need to program it. We're going to program it a simple way first, and then we're going to get a little fancy. Let's start by making sure that our user is putting in the right code. To do this, we're going to need to join our consecutive message.payloads together in a join node. I want a 4-digit PIN, so I'm going to set up a few options here pertaining to that. I want to send on the join message after 4 different message payloads are sent, or 20 seconds, whichever happens first. The 20-second part basically just makes sure that the current code entry times out after 20 seconds. The other part you'll notice is that there's a default option that says that if the node receives the payload of message complete with a value of true, it automatically just sends the message on, even without 4 parts or 20 seconds passing. This allows us to set up a clear button using a change node that allows the user to start over if they entered the PIN incorrectly. We obviously only want the keypad to respond if the correct message is sent. So we're going to send this message into a switch node that looks for the correct PIN. For our example, I'm going to use 1 874, which is my current number of subscribers at the time of writing this. After this node, the easiest thing to do would be to toggle the alarm on or off using a call services node and the input boolean toggle service. But that wouldn't really be all that useful because we probably need some time to leave the house after we've armed the alarm. So instead of that call services node, we're going to check the status of the exterior alarms. This node will either return on or off and will send that payload to a switch node. You might have noticed that I skipped a node there. We're going to circle back around to that at the end. If the current status node returns on, this sequence disarms the alarm using the input boolean turnoff service and then outputs the message alarm disarmed in text-to-speech using the text-to-speech node in the Node-RED dashboard. This text-to-speech node outputs whatever's in the message.payload, which could be a string of text or even an MP3 file. If the alarm was off, it starts the process of arming. To start this process, I set 3 variables with a single change node. I set message.payload to arming in 45 seconds so that the text-to-speech will say it. I set message.keypad to arming, which will be displayed on the keypad, and I set the flow-wide variable arming status to arming. The next message is passed into a delay node, which holds the entire object for 45 seconds before passing it on. After 45 seconds, it passes it into a switch node that checks to make sure that the flow-wide variable arming status is still equal to arming. And if it is, it activates the call services node that turns the exterior alarms on. The other branch sets the flow-wide variable arming status back to not arming. If you're following along at home, you might be really confused as to why I've even made this arming status variable. Let's say you set the alarm and it starts to arm, and then you decide you're not ready to leave yet and you don't want it to arm. You'd have to wait the full 45 seconds to have it arm, and then you'd have to input the code again to turn it off. That's totally unacceptable to me. In order to fix this, we've got this arming status variable. The first switch node that we skipped over checks that flow-wide arming status variable. It doesn't matter where in the flow a flow-wide variable is set, we can always read it. If we punch in our PIN while the alarm is in the process of arming, our message gets sent down this other path where it sets arming status to not arming, which then prevents the alarm from being set after the delay node. The other problem with our delayed arming is that our status window is going to get out of sync. For this, we use a trigger node. A trigger node sends a payload immediately and then sends a second payload after a specified amount of time. The first payload I send will be canceled to give the user some feedback that the PIN was entered successfully. And then after 3 seconds, it will set the status to off, which is the current state of the alarm. Because my alarm status window is set to display the message.keypad and not message.payload, I have to have another change node here to shift the message.payload into message.keypad. The last thing to consider when using flow-wide and global variables is that since they're used to recall things that have already happened, anytime I restart Node-RED, those variables are cleared and no longer have a value associated with them. This causes a problem where the flow.arming status is not equal to anything, which will prevent the message from passing through the switch node. We can solve this in 2 ways. We can either create a new fork in our switch where flow.arming status is equal to null, which means the variable hasn't been given any value yet, or we can give it a default value anytime Node-RED starts up. To do this, we'll use an inject node. Inject nodes are mostly used for debugging, but by clicking this inject once after X seconds checkbox, you can have them run once whenever Node-RED restarts. This will ensure that your flow and global variables will always have default values. Now all that's left is to check out our new UI. To access it, you just point your browser at that normal Node-RED URL, but instead of the #flow part, you replace that with /UI. You could access this from a tablet mounted on the wall to make a pretty slick looking home control hub and alarm panel. Let's see it in action.
Alarm arming in 45 seconds. Alarm disarmed. Alarm arming in 45 seconds.
If you didn't know this, I'm a high school teacher, and we are in the first week of summer. What that means for you is that I've got a lot more time on my hands to finish up all the videos that I've been working on. Make sure you hit that subscribe button, because in between my normal Wednesday videos, I may be releasing additional tutorials as I finish them. Coming up this week, automating remote backups for both Hassio and Node-RED. I've got a few user-submitted sequences to include in my last Node-RED how-to video, but go ahead and post a comment if you've got anything else that you'd absolutely want to see included. Hope you all enjoyed this video, and as always, thanks for watching the hookup.